That's a photograph that was taken when he left Augusta. He came here the morning after he was elected president, and he was here for several weeks, and his entire cabinet, almost his entire cabinet, was formed while he was here.
1952?
That was in 1952 that he was elected, and he came here immediately afterwards, and this was where his cabinet was formed and his plans for his trip to Korea was made.
I want to go back a few years further than the Eisenhower years, though. I'd like to go back to the year of the first golf tournament at the Augusta National, 1934.
That's right.
It wasn't even called the Masters the first year, was it?
No. The reason for that was that we had debated about what to call the tournament, and I made the proposal that it be called the Masters, which Bob Jones promptly vetoed because he thought it was a little too presumptuous.
Mm-hmm.
And he insisted that it be called the Augusta National Invitational Tournament. And of course, Bob's views prevailed. And the reason it finally became known as the Masters was because Tom Barrett, who was a member of the club,
mm-hmm.
He'd heard about my suggestion. Bob had told him. And he says, I think you're making a mistake in not calling it the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
And a year or two after that, he told some newspaper friend of his in confidence, and the newspaper friend thought it was such a good story that he promptly published it. Whereupon the press began calling it the Masters Tournament.
So the press called it the Masters Tournament really before it was officially the Masters then?
Yeah, we kept right on calling it the Augusta National Invitational Tournament for several years.
Mm-hmm.
But we were the only ones that were calling it by that name. The players, the press, and everybody else started calling it the Masters Tournament. So we finally had no option except to adopt the name that prevailed.
That initially you wanted to call it anyway.
That's right.
It's very interesting. In 1934, the first tournament, was it a financial success?
Anything but. It was a success to this extent that we had a lot of people here.
Mm-hmm. How many people were here in 34 for the tournament?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that, but I remember we checked up as accurately as you can. It's never possible to get accurate figures, but we think that there were more people here than any other tournament in the country, with a single exception of the United States Open Championship.
But in 1934, however, golf did not enjoy the popularity it does today, and certainly you didn't have the crowds that you have in 75.
Well, in those days, we charged $2 admission. That was the going rate, and at $2 a head, that doesn't run into money very fast. And Bob and I had pretty expensive notions about how a tournament should be run. So the net result was that although we appeared to be having a big success with the new tournament, we actually incurred a substantial deficit, and the only way we met the prize fund was that I passed the hat among the members.
The membership made up the deficit then.
And old Bart Arkell used to give the first prize. Jay Monroe used to donate the second prize, and so on down the list.
How long was this necessary? How long before it wasn't necessary to pass the hat?
The tournament was in the red until it came to an end, to a recess, a 3-year recess, because of the war.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we never broke even prior to the beginning of World War II. 1 or 2 years after we resumed the tournament, after the end of the war, we did show black figures, and it's been in the black ever since.
Of the early members, the charter members of the Augusta National Golf Club, how many are still members?
Well, there's only 2 that are alive. One's Jerry Franklin from Augusta, and one's myself.
And although you're not a native Augustan and you list New York City as your home, we sort of like to claim you in Augusta too.
Well, actually, your mayor, Tom Barrett, who was mayor in the early days of the club, he fixed it up so I could vote here. I never took advantage of it, but Tom told me he had it all arranged so that I could vote here if I wanted to, as well as in New York City.
I don't guess you remember at this point how many of those programs were printed in 1934, do you?
No, I don't remember, but there weren't. There weren't a great deal.
It's a very attractive program, one that was beautifully put together, and I have thoroughly enjoyed browsing through it, reading it thoroughly, and seeing the changes in the Augusta National Golf Course. And although it was beautiful then, it's amazing to see how much more it has developed in the last 41 years, I guess.
Well, actually, we only published a program of this type for 2 years. And we got tired of sandbagging our friends to buy an ad in it, and our friends got tired of having us do that to them, and so we quit.
Yeah, there's some of the photographs of many of the beautiful holes in there, though were beautiful even in those days, but they're so much more lovely now, and the trees have grown, the foliage is fantastic. It's difficult to see in black and white the beauty of the course that you can see in living color, but at any rate, it's still very easy to see how much more it has developed in recent years.
Well, the golf course was a great golf course right from the beginning. That is the basic reason why the Masters tournament was a success.
I was going to ask what you attributed most of the credit for the success of the Masters Golf Championship.
Well, there's several things. The course, number one, Mackenzie and Bob Jones designed something that I think is about the nicest of all. There's a lot of great courses, of course, but I think this is number one. And
there are a lot of people who agree wholeheartedly with you too.
And we've been able to get a good many folks to agree with us about that.
Indeed you have. We have a photograph in that book of Mackenzie also.
Yeah.
I guess it would look funny to have somebody wearing that kind of attire at the Augusta National today, though, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't look funny if he wore it.
Indeed not. That's interesting.
Uh,
He was very complimentary of Bobby Jones in his article there about how the course was built.
Well, everybody that knew Bob found something complimentary to say about him. He was a much greater person than he ever was a golfer.
Well, that's saying a great deal, because a whole lot of people say that Bobby Jones was the greatest golfer who ever lived. I
agree with that, because you have to take into consideration that he made his records and ended his career as a competitor at the age of 28.
And never turned professional.
And never played as a pro, no. For the Defense Department, or he was at Columbia University, or he was in Europe running NATO.
Right.
Asking me, aren't those nicknames of President Eisenhower? He handed me this in the program.
Right. I got you. You rolling, Hans?
Enough for the interview, Charles. Still shooting this best shot you want?
Yeah. Okay. I got a copy of the scores from the first tournament, and Mr. Roberts, aren't the initials on the front of this desk the initials of the late President Eisenhower?
They are. This was his desk. As a matter of fact, after he had left the White House, this was his office for a number of years. He allowed me to use it, of course, during the Masters tournament, but otherwise it was always reserved for his use while he was here. You see, while he was president, we fixed up an office for him over the pro shop, formal office, where his secretaries and others had room to operate. And when he ceased to be president, and this tournament headquarters building was built, it was only used originally for a short period during the tournament. At all other times, it was reserved for his use. In fact, everything in this room, everything on the walls, are things that he selected to be put there.
And you haven't changed it at all?
We haven't changed it at all. There's a copy of the painting that he made of his grandson, David, swinging a golf club that Bob Jones made up for David.
It's very interesting. It's great to sit in this office and think of the conversations that then President Eisenhower must have had with a great many people, not only about the game of golf, but many others. This photograph that you're pointing to now.
When he got ready to leave, we got together, what members were present, and the entire club organization, and had this picture made.
It's beautiful. I don't suppose that'll ever come down from the wall.
And
you don't publish figures on how many people attend the tournament now, do you?
No, and we think for very good reasons. No one can tell you accurately how many people attend a golf tournament. And whenever we give out figures, we like to give out accurate figures. But people are coming and going all day long at a golf tournament. People in your profession, for example, are running downtown to send off some pictures and file reports and so forth, and coming back in. And taxi cabs are driving in and out all day. And we don't, no one knows how many how many people are here at any given moment, because the total is never the same from 1 hour to the next.
Is the Masters the only tournament that limits ticket sales to your knowledge, or sells out?
I have never known a tournament yet, except this one. There may be some that I don't know about, but I have never known a tournament that didn't want to sell more tickets than they were able to sell.
Mr. Roberts, looking over the program for the 1934 invitation tournament at the Augusta National, there's some interesting photographs. That's an interesting program, period. I could spend hours reading it and browsing through it. I wouldn't recognize you, for example, the photograph of you in that book.
I wouldn't either. And that's not a very complimentary picture of Bob either, as far as that's concerned.
You don't like the picture of Bobby Jones there?
I don't like it at all. It's a Hollywood picture that they made of him when he made that set of instructional movies right after his retirement.
There's several pictures of individuals from all over the country, of course, but several Augusta citizens in that booklet. Fielding Wallace and a number of other Augusta citizens.
Yes, Fielding Wallace was our first secretary, and he has the distinction of being the only man from this neck of the woods that was elected to the presidency of the United States Golf Association.
I didn't realize that. And I didn't realize before I saw that booklet that Grantland Rice had been an early member of the Augusta National.
He was one of the original organization committee, of which there were 5.
Mm-hmm. Who were the 5?
Bob Jones and Grant, Granny we called him, and a man named Watt from New York City, and Alfred Bourne, and myself.
Those were the original 5. Of the, as a golfer, with Jack Nicklaus or Arnold Palmer.
I am not going to make any comparisons with any other individual.
It'd be hard to do, I know.
All you have to do is to remember that Bob Jones was an amateur, and he retired at the age of 28. And I don't know of anybody that that ever came close to winning the major championships that he did at the age of 28.
That's very true. I wonder if we could go back to, I believe, the first page in that book, and have you recall what the schedule for the Masters was in 1934, or the first annual invitational tournament. I believe it's maybe on the first page inside, where the schedule of events is outlined, beginning on Sunday of Masters Week. Yeah. It was a little bit different, the lineup then from 1974, wasn't it?
Oh, well, there's been a number of things that have changed in the format. I think I want to comment on some of these other people, if you don't mind.
I'd like for you to do that.
John W. Herbert, who had a winter home here, the same as Alfred Bourne. Alfred Bourne was the first man that ever wrote a check towards the underwriting of the building of the Augusta National Course. And old Judge Herbert, who was past 80, used to play 18 holes of golf every day. His claim to fame was that he was a member of the first intercollegiate football team, Rutgers, playing against Princeton. And each birthday, he would celebrate by playing 36 holes of golf instead of 18. He was one of the original founders of this club, and a great person in many ways.
You must have a lot of fond memories of a lot of the other members too.
Among other things, he could play bridge all evening and didn't need to wear glasses after having his full share of cocktails and highballs throughout the evening.
Any others you want to comment on very quickly there?
Well, here's Gummy Harrison. He has two fine sons that are members of the club today and who take an active part in the tournament organization.
Talking about Augustans who were members of the club back in 34.
Well, one of the most distinguished was Louis Berkman's, who was a grandson of the original baron that bought this property and turned it into a nursery.
Making for the ideal layout for the most fantastic golf course in the world.
And Louis Berkman's helped us with the plan. We located and brought him and his brother back to Augusta to help us rehabilitate this property.
Beautiful.
And,
Mr. Roberts?
And he decided he wanted to be a member, so we made him a member.
Thank you so much for reminiscing with us for just a few minutes. You're very kind to take time from a busy schedule to do it, and I'm sure our viewers are going to enjoy it as much as I have.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Right.